Hello, everyone. Welcome to Des Doodles episode 10. I'm your host, Sapna Malhotra. Today, I wanted to share an experience I had a few years back. I still remember it was the first day of a new session at school. I was teaching kindergarten, and my colleague and we were waiting at the door of our classroom for our new 30 little angels to come who we were going to teach that term. We were so excited to welcome them. The children were going to be only with us for half an hour for the first week so that they got accustomed to the new environment, to us, to each other. And then every week we would extend the time. And today they were going to be with us for the first day for half an hour. In walked our children. We had children who cried and cried for the first full week. And by the end of the week, they settled down. There were those who were so excited from day one. They ran around in the classroom, played with all the toys that were laid out, and spoke to other friends. Then there were those who were so shy, who came and just wanted to hold our hands and just walk with us or just sit with us. In all those 30 children, I can never forget the face of that little angel who walked in with the most adorable face. He came in every day, sat down on his chair. He did not laugh, he did not talk to anyone, just watched with peace at everything. No matter how hard my colleague and I tried to reach that child, there was something that we could not give him. We tried, we tried our level best from our knowledge, whatever we had, to make him feel comfortable. But there was something else that he needed. Today on Desk Doodles, we have three amazing women, three esteemed guests with whom we're going to talk about our experiences in situations where we didn't know what to do and learn from them how we can help children who need a special environment, who need our special attention. Let me welcome my three amazing women. Welcome to Desk Doodles.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My
Hi, Sap.
first guest is Mrs. Geeta Bhalla. She is the Associate Director at VXL Educational Trust. She has 35 years of experience working with children, mentoring parents, mentoring teachers. She's also the principal of Kaleidoscope Learning Center, a school which is run for special needs kids by VXL Educational Trust. My second guest is Mrs. Neha Bhardwaj. She is the program coordinator at VXL. She has 15 years of experience working with children. And my third guest, Miss Pooja Bhalla, who is an art, music, and play therapist. She is a psychologist. She's a counselor. I'm running short of words to describe the three of you. Really, it's such an honor to have you here. Welcome to Desk Doodles once again.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Sapna. That was more than prolific. Thank you.
Oh, please. So, Geeta, I'll come to you first. Tell us a little bit about how you walked this beautiful path. How did you start on this beautiful path?
The beautiful path. I often say this in many of my talks, but actually, I have been a teacher for as long as I know,
Right.
meaning even 9 years old. My parents were in the Air Force, and we used to live in these lovely places, lovely bungalows, and we used to have these beautiful gardens.
Right.
And as far as I know, I used to even teach the bricks and the rose bushes. Every evening, I would come back from school and teach them everything that I knew. So it was not very surprising for me that I took up this line.
Right.
But what I do call a big, big, big destiny factor in this is when I was doing my B.Ed, when I was training to be a teacher, just for that 1 year in that Delhi university came this one amazing person who was a teacher for just that 1 year. And she was Dr. Afzal Frize. I'll never ever forget her because she came into the class and we were 225 students.
Wow.
And by the end of 1 week or 10 days, she had looked at all of us and said, You. You all are going to do educational psychology, but you're also going to do education of the backward child. And that is what it was called in those days. And she chose me to be she chose me and those 6 other people to be special educators. I'd never even heard of the term before. And as luck would have it, for the last 40 years now, 40, 45 years, I have only dealt with children and special needs. So that's my story. I have never taught a normal set of children, though I've taught teachers of mainstream schools,
Right,
but never a set of so-called, not normal, I would say mainstream kids.
right, right.
So
Wow.
that's my story.
That's wonderful. It was just that you were destined to be here. And I think God just knew that you're going to give it to those kids what they need.
The fact that I'm not bored, I'm not jaded, I feel delighted even now, and I feel so natural in the company of these kids. I know that I'm in the right place, and I know that this was my path to take. So that is.
Perfect, perfect. How about you, Neha? So was because Mama was already on that path, so was it easy for you to go in that direction? How did your story begin?
I said I'm not going to work with special needs children.
Okay.
That's how my story started.
Right,
But children has been an interest throughout my life.
right.
So I actually studied Montessori, and in the school, Montessori school where I worked, there came this boy who was a boy with autism, and I fell in love with him, and he took me back to Mama's school because I followed him back there, and then somebody said, hey, you sing a little bit, you want to start doing little bit of your Montessori or little bit of music with this boy,
Right.
just have fun with him. So
Okay.
that's how my story started. I actually left the Montessori school and then joined this school, and then started with Montessori, but then like a year later met anthroposophy, and then the journey after that has just continued.
Wonderful, wonderful. How about you, Pooja? I mean, now that two people from the family were already in that path, so how was your journey beginning then?
Started a bit similar to Neha's by saying like I that was teaching was the game that I played when I was small always.
Right.
We didn't have anything against special needs children. We saw them from the time we were small.
I'm
But
sure.
we were both very clear that we are not going to do this job or we are not going to teach them. But I think it's them who called. So I was studying my MPhil in psychology and I was doing a project on music and autism. So we had to choose a center. And since Mama worked there, I said, okay, let me do my project here. And I remember coming into the classrooms and the teacher saying, this child has this problem, he will never do this, 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 he will never do that. And I remember coming in, and this is children who don't speak at all, they won't look at you, they won't do anything.
Right, right.
But maybe I'm also a bit like them, I don't know. But I just felt, oh, this place just feels like home. That's the only feeling that I got. That and the children, they didn't seem to have any issues. They did whatever I asked them to do.
Yeah.
And it just, I think it was them who called me. So I didn't consciously say, I want to do this.
Right.
It's almost like they lured, they
Yeah.
lured us, and then we ended up all being in the same place.
Wonderful. And that's what I wanted here. I remember when I started the conversation with Geeta to get all of you for this talk. And it was a difficult task for all of you to find that same time. And Geeta said, okay, why don't we do one thing? Why can't we just have it with one person? And then slowly we can. And I was like, no, I just love this picture of all the three of you and how selflessly you're doing it. And there's so much of learning inside that itself, and so beautiful that the children themselves pulled you in, right? It was just they discovered that something in you which they wanted from you, right? That's so wonderful. Correct. So let me come to you, Geeta, with my first question today. And my first question is that how can we design a positive, a beautiful environment for children who are on the autism spectrum disorder? How can we create that environment for them so that they can blossom with happiness, they can enjoy, the learning?
Hmm. Actually, you wouldn't believe it, but in your question itself, you have partially given the answer. Because normally when people do talk of autism, they always talk about children and their fixing their behaviors. But truly, the way to look at children with autism is what can we do in the environment which will help them flower. And that is already one of the key points that we really believe in, that we design the environment in such a way that it is most conducive to these children. I'll have to tell you at this point little bit
Yeah,
about autism, or at least our philosophy which guides us when we are working with these children.
please, please do.
So we in Neha mentioned the word anthroposophy.
Yeah,
Anthroposophy is the wisdom of the human being. And we do believe that every human being is born with his spirit intact. You know, his spirit is completely intact, yours, mine, every child's. It's only the body, the vehicle in which the spirit is carried, which may be having some problem or the other, which may be, you can call it damaged, you can call it not well developed. And so the carrier of the spirit is not in order.
right.
We say that the spirit and this body come together to form the human being that you are.
Yeah,
And when the spirit doesn't fit this body very well, then we see special needs. We see early childhood education from 0 to 7 sometimes as a process of befriending the spirit. But mostly children are able to do it. Mostly you will see most children, okay, they, you know, like so-called well-adapted kids
mhm,
or the so-called neurotypical kids will have this close connection between the spirit and the body, and you will see them functioning quite normally. But every once in a while, and now pretty much once in a while,
yeah,
because it is 1 in 60 children
right.
who show this, so it's very often that once in a while comes, that this spirit doesn't fit this child's body very well. And then you have flapping of hands, you see them like motor, they'll be roaming about, they'll be doing this, they'll be screwing up their eyes, and all of these. So, but the very fact that you know that behind this facade, there lies a spirit which is intact,
Right.
pretty much like even if Beethoven or Mozart had to come to play a piano,
Yeah,
which was not, you know, it was not in its best order, then he couldn't have produced the melodies that he produced.
right,
So,
right.
pretty much like that. So, we strive to meet the spirit in the human being. And secondly, we understand that these children have sensory issues. So, we try and design an environment where much of these sensory issues are reduced, or where, you know, like of course the children, some of them which are who are hyper vestibular, they're seeking movement. We have enough of swings, we need therapy. So you design your entire environment with the light, the kind of curtains you put, the way we take care of their textile needs, the kind of uniform they wear, all of those things which go a lot in taking care of their persona. Most importantly, these children need a human being who understands them.
Yes.
So that also forms a large part of the environment. The way my consciousness is when I look at you, if I have a preconceived commentary that, oh my God, he's drooling and why is he doing this? The child is not going to manifest himself. Sometimes it's the other extreme. Special children, oh so divine. You know, that also they manifest in another way.
Yeah.
But if you see them like any other child would say, yeah, seems to be running a little bit more, doesn't seem to be planting his feet properly on the ground, seems to be really on his tiptoes. And yeah, he does seem to have some nervousness. So when we start observing them, they actually give you clues to who they are and what the therapy must be.
Yeah.
The other environment we take very good care of is their physical selves. We know that many of these children are uncomfortable in their body, so we take utmost care of their guts. So I call it the 5-point program that we follow. Meet the child in its essence,
Right.
change the environment, not the child,
Yeah.
help them with their body, with their nutrition, with the gut, and having a wonderful, consistent rhythm, and help them with body. And a little, we can, I'm sure Neha Pooja can elaborate on this. And we also keep the child in the center and build a community around. The child himself never works alone. The teacher and the child, the parent and the child, the therapist and the child, the entire team. The child is in the center, but we keep increasing the community around him. And once the community thinks like you, the child flowers.
Yeah. I think the child understands that he's in an environment where he's accepted for what he is, and everybody's appreciative of whoever he is. They don't want to change him or her. And I think that itself gives him or her the comfort to really reveal himself, what he exactly or she is from within, right?
This
That,
has pretty much been our story. They, of course, have worked hands on, Neha and Pooja, and we be able to tell you many more stories of how we still refer to them as children with autism, but Pooja often tells me that she doesn't even find it nothing like autism. I mean,
yeah.
yeah.
So I'll come to Neha with that, because, like Mama said, that it's about creating that environment where we take care of each and every little thing, and then I think the children just blossom like that. And I know that you have brought music into their lives, and you're bringing joy and happiness with that. You use music as a medium to teach them, to get through to them. So how do you do that? If you can share something with us.
I think there were two things. One is music has always been part of our life. So we grew up with music, and we are still homework from our teacher that we work with. She, she's told us, figure out how the music comes to you and then what you want to actually do with it. Yeah. So that is one thing we are still working with music. But music, like I said, it runs through us. It's like a different way of talking. You sing or something like that. So it comes very naturally. So that when I became a class teacher, there were two things. One is the classroom became like I felt this is a home for the children for these 3 hours or 2 hours. So I should set it up in a way that they feel comfortable. And music, I didn't think so much, but it just came very naturally to me. But when it came and I watched the children, then I found that something changed in them. They smiled. The children who didn't speak started singing and then started speaking. And then Pooji joined the school, and then we started singing in harmony, and that we sing a lot together.
Right.
And when they started listening to that, some of them started making like saying one or two words which we made into a song. So it was like one thing led to the other, led to the other,
Right.
and music just became part of whatever we did.
Yeah.
So some people are saying it's therapy. For us, it's not therapy. For us, it's just that's how it is.
It's a way of living
It's a
with them
way of
there.
living with them, and it's a way of living for us.
Yeah.
So
But
that's
it did help them a lot, right?
like
Like you said.
because
Yeah.
I think music for us when we grew up always brought joy to us. We sing a lot with our dad, and we love listening to music where there are different voices, and we loved practicing together, and we practiced very hard together, and we tried to record and all those things. And I somewhere started playing the guitar. Pooji started playing the piano. And when this came to the children as form of just being us, yes, we did see them flowering a lot, and that was very beautiful
So
to
did you
watch
have
that.
other children also who wanted to learn instruments, or who showed interest in wanting to learn music?
The special needs children, they not really. They would come very close to me, listen or watch my fingers how I played,
Right.
touch the guitar sometimes. But it was more that when I sing or when Pooji sings or when we sing together, something fills the room. And in that something that like there's joy, or there's lot of joy when I sing. There's a lot of peace when Pooji sings. If someone is crying and Pooji begins to sing, they either cry more but in a very peaceful way. Something gets very rested. So that started happening a lot. So it was not that they said we want to learn what you're doing.
Yeah.
It was more that keep doing that
Keep doing
because it's bringing something for us.
Right, right. Wonderful.
After a point, there were some of my Down syndrome children who said, "Can we hold a mic and sing and
Oh,
act and be like you?" That also started happening.
it's just like children, right? Any child would be excited by music. I mean, I don't think we even need to refer it to a child who's with special needs. It's just, I think children are so soft that music and art generally, I think, is a beautiful medium to play with them with, right?
I would say all human beings. Music is
Absolutely. True,
something
true.
that
Correct, correct. And how about you, Pooja? You've brought art into your, teaching as well. You use art as a medium. You've done a course with, I think, Sally Martin as well. So
yeah.
how do you use that, and how does it help with bridging that gap between you and the children?
So music is something that came very naturally. Art was not something that came naturally. So I always say that when you come into this job, there are things that come naturally to you where you will automatically discover gifts of your own. And there are certain places, like I was not comfortable with touch and I had to give massages. I never painted much, but the teachers in some way chose me and said, no, you need to do this and you need to do it with them.
Yeah,
So they saw something in me, and I guess I trusted them enough. Um, Actually, working with the children so closely, I would say yes, music helps, art helps, many things help, play helps, and I worked in many mediums.
right,
But the most important thing I would say is just that relationship, and that's a more like I sometimes don't have to do any therapy. So there are children who are screaming, crying, biting, doing everything possible on the corridor,
yeah,
and they enter the room and they sit down, and there's peace. And I didn't do anything,
right, right,
but there's something there in the space that it almost like, but I'm guessing that everybody has these sometimes people in their life
right.
who you just feel comfortable with them, or you just feel like, oh, thank god I'm here.
Yeah,
So I wouldn't I won't look and say what was the magic, what was the color, what was the stroke I used. I understood that those things have a big, like after studying art therapy, it can work beautifully as therapy.
yeah.
But unless they don't feel comfortable, then everything becomes like a tool or something like that.
Correct, correct.
I understood for them, I could be just singing like this, or painting, or sitting, or reading them a story. But in that space, it becomes important. Actually, more than anything, it's just that me recognizing you, even if you're flapping, even if you're stimming,
Correct.
I see there's more beyond you,
Yeah,
and I see that you've not come here simply. I understand you've come here for a big purpose. And in somebody just witnessing you and seeing you, that makes quite a bit. Like, I don't have to stim to say, look at me. I know you look at me. And I wouldn't have learned how to do this if they never looked at me like that. So, in the way that the children watch you, once you've experienced it, if you've ever experienced that love from them and that witnessing from them, like sometimes feels like God can see through through your stomach inside you, then you just uh, understand that.
right.
So
And I
yeah.
think it's a beautiful feeling, I think, probably for both of you, your students and you, because you have that one platform where you're just together, right? And that's what they have understood in the time that they have been with you, that they can just be themselves and you just appreciate them for what they are.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I
And
think
that's, I think,
I think the most important therapy in that is love. So
yeah,
I think that
absolutely.
it seems like it's a fairy tale story or like a magic thing, and sometimes love is not easy.
Yeah,
But I think
correct.
the key crux. And if I look at them and everything that they come to do, that's the one thing they keep pushing.
Yeah,
Can you love me? Can you
yeah,
move a little bit? Can you love? Can you love? Can you love? because they have lots of love.
Yes.
So,
I think children generally,
yes,
all
all
kids, the other day also when I was talking to you, Geeta, I just feel that today we are talking about children with special needs. But when we talk, I think it just feels that it's just children. I mean, it doesn't, we've just added one name tag to it, but all children would love an environment where they are not judged. All children would appreciate if the other person, a teacher or the parent, was just loving them for what they are, giving them the space to express the way they want to. So I think that environment is so a happy environment for any child to blossom and flourish.
You are
So
absolutely, absolutely right. Initially, I worked at the Spastic Society here in Bangalore,
yeah.
and I used to often say, people used to tell me, why do you push the kids so hard? Like, what are you doing? I said, because they're all Neha Puja to me, and I want them to do what they are doing.
Yeah.
And now at We Excel, one of the most beautiful things about the organization that we are working is there's a lot of freedom. There is so much of freedom, and we are not bogged down by certain curriculum, certain musts, certain that. So it's a very unique kind of a place where each one of us can take our own selves and manifest. If I, like Neha Puja, feel very strongly about this, the space is given to them. They are not, there is no structure, there is no have to's, there's no thing that you have to comply with. And therefore, you get like them. There are many, many young children who've joined and who have done amazing work.
Wow.
These are two of them who've done, and yes, their work is, I can say they were harbingers of this uniqueness. But today we do find a lot of young staff who want to bring their quality of service, and they do, only because there is a space in which they aren't too many bandhan. There's not like, no, this is
Correct.
not allowed kind. And the children need all of us.
Yeah.
The children need all of us. They need this world. They need this world to understand that you don't have to only be talking about environment and pollution and all. Actually, special needs is also a very, very, very big theme.
Yeah.
And they are part of the community like none other. And
Absolutely.
they are you and me with some differences.
That's true.
And I'm passionate about the fact right now that people have to recognize. I don't feel shy at all now, when we say that it is not just the parents who are responsible or the school. The entire community can come forward to accept, include, and help and do whatever else they can.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So true, because I think we talk about ethnic diversity, we talk about gender diversity, and this is just neurodiversity, right? And why can't we all come up and, dedicate ourselves to something like this and accept them for how beautiful they are as they are. That's it. So, which brings me to my next question for you, Geeta, that we were talking about your school, the environment, which is a special, exclusive environment. So, do you think that it is for children on the spectrum, it is better for them to be in a school which has a special environment, or an inclusive environment school is also, does help?
That's a very beautiful, but for me, slightly poignant question.
Right.
Because again, for me, it is, what does this child need?
Yeah.
This particular child. Ideally, have after having studied anthroposophy and after having studied the Waldorf approach to education, the early childhood group,
Yeah.
I feel, should be evenly, beautifully given to every child born on this earth. They need to grow up only with this kind of education. It is so natural, it is so age appropriate, it is totally tuned to your changing consciousness, and therefore every child will benefit from it. I will go so far to say that children with special needs, if they are given the first 7, 8 years in an environment which is not exclusive but inclusive, but doing it the right way,
Right.
you will minimize the damage which can happen in later years.
Correct.
Of course, having said that, I would say it's wonderful to include, but It all depends on what that particular child needs. We've had both kinds. I've had both kinds of experiences. We've had children who have come away from a regular school. They were included in a neurotypical school, but when they came to our school, they blossomed. And so much so, after blossoming here, one of the children who went back to that school for some, festival that they had to have, they had a special needs festival. But that child, when he went back to that school, he got the heebie jeebies at the gate
No.
because he said, no, this was not a place where I had a good experience. And here he had to be accompanied by the teachers. And over the next 4 or 5 years that he continued to go there to sing, he overcame that antipathy towards that school. But so they are, and I remember when I was here at Spastic Society also, we used to go to different schools, and they children who would come to us for remedial work over there used to say, what a lot of fun you people are having, even though they were wheelchair bound, but they used to be playing cricket, and they would say, what a lot of fun you people are having. So it depends on the severity. Sometimes when the severity is too much, like some of the needs of these autism children are so much, they definitely would benefit from from an environment which understands them completely. So I would say it depends. You should try the inclusion, but if inclusion is not working, it's okay to give them an exclusive environment.
Right.
So we call it the least restrictive environment. Whatever is the least restrictive for you, you put them in. So I won't use it like a buzzword, and I mean, I may be even going down in the books of special educators as a, because you can't say you don't believe in inclusion.
Yeah.
Sometimes it isn't the right answer for you.
Absolutely. It all depends
As
on
a
the child.
spirit and as a concept,
Yeah.
inclusion should be world over, but it should begin with anything. I am a Punjabi and I go into a room full of Tamilian women. They should stop talking in Tamil and at least speak in English, right? You shouldn't feel excluded.
Yeah.
Similarly, the same with Punjab. If you have a South Indian coming there, you should not be. So, all of inclusion can be in many, many ways. But for special children, you should see their needs, what they can do. Children with learning disabilities surely can enter mainstream education. Those should be included.
Of course. Of course.
Autism is another game altogether. Like you need to see.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I totally respect your views on that. And this, when you were talking it, I went back to the experience that I was sharing in the beginning with you. And I still remember that one of the biggest hurdles for us at that time, was talking to the parent and the parent's acceptance. It was it was so difficult for us to make the parent understand that that the child needs a beautiful environment where he or she is going to flourish more, blossom better. Because in a class where there are 30 children, it is very difficult for a teacher to give that undivided attention to one student. And in the beginning years, sometimes the student wants that kind of an attention that you, and you can see that if you give that total your all to that child, you can see that something might work with that child. But when you have 30 other children, you can't find that time. So I think my question, next question, maybe to Pooja and Neha, is that how difficult has it been for you people to mentor or talk to parents to accept the children the way they are?
Yeah.
And I think that's the first step for their development, for their growth, and for them to blossom. I think the parental acceptance is, I think, the biggest.
Yeah. But I think here there is my class whom I've been with since they were kindergarten. They are now senior school. They are adults now, 20s. So the set of parents has also been together.
Right.
And I think it finally boils down to, can I build a relationship with them also? So it never reaches a point where it's teacher against parent, parent against teacher, though there are many times in the many years of working together, you feel like killing each other. You're like, this so simple, this is all he needs, why can't you give it to him? But I think as a class teacher who's still working with this group of parents, and they are a very big support.
Right.
I think it really and at the end of it, it's can I actually be a friend to them?
Yeah.
Not that I empathize with everything, because the way I see the child is always different from the way a parent looks at the child. So it's not that I say yes to everything the parent is thinking and doing and not doing. I don't. I stay there and I push and I love them and I push and I love them. But can I build that relationship? Because between the teacher and the parent, if there is a bridge, the children again blossom there.
Yes,
They
absolutely.
flower there. So the more the relationships in which I fought more and invested more for the, like, no, this child is saying this, and those are the children who actually came to class the next day and smiled.
Right.
I would have had a fight with his mother in the night. Next day he comes in smiling. So
Yeah.
then the counselor who works with us in our school, she said, and our teacher, our guide, they told us, yes, keep having these dialogues and always keep the space for dialogue open with the parent.
Right.
Because most often you will not agree. And it's the same with a colleague in the class.
Yeah, absolutely.
Many times you don't agree. But if there is a space open for that discussion, and there is a that we both actually want something good for this child, I think the child blossoms.
Right.
So I think
Absolutely. Yeah.
the meeting parents, it is not easy, and I'm sure for them it's not easy to meet the teacher. But and it's a slow. It's literally like a marriage that you slowly work with. You work at it.
And I
And
think it's a lot of, observations. Like when we were also working with that child, and I'm not a special educator. So for us also, we were like really treading very, very slow. And I remember one of our colleagues, she's your sister, right? And we used to tell Minati that, Minati, can you just check with Geeta if we're doing this right, or how can we help that child? And we were trying so many different things with that kid, but when it came to the parent, it was mostly like, that they did not want to accept that our child needs a different environment.
it is,
So, and where we could see that if he got a different environment, he would have blossomed,
yeah.
he would have really enjoyed every day. It's like sitting in a Mandarin class the whole day when you don't understand anything, and it's such a torture to sit like that, right, for 3 hours that you are
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
So, Geeta,
absolutely.
do you have something to say? I know.
I remember this child very well. I
Yeah.
think, yeah, Meena used to talk about this child. And I do know that the very little things that we said. So for me, because you all were both KG teachers,
Yeah.
I really encouraged you to have that child in your class, because I just said, sing more, give him this. If all the other children are drawing, it's okay for him to, just take the pencil and do something. So make those. But the very fact that he was one, and I do remember Meena telling me that slowly the child had warmed up to her and had started showing her
Yeah.
a little bit of
Little
himself.
bit.
I
Yeah.
don't know at the end, I don't remember now what happened to the end, but she did say that yes, he actually learned to read and write too a little bit, if I'm
Yes,
not
he did.
mistaken.
He did progress a little bit, and then I think when it was time to move to first grade, that's when finally
Kind of
uh, yes,
took a
yes,
call.
took a different.
Yeah.
I Pooja wants to say
Yes,
okay. I
yes,
also
Pooja,
want to
please.
say something about the parent bit because it's a strong thought in my head.
Yeah,
Pooja, please say.
I also want to say that when children come and especially maybe in an inclusive school, actually in every
any.
environment, and they are doing something and they are not fitting in and they are not kind of conforming to whatever's the norm of
Yeah,
the thing, then for me, knowing them, knowing that, hey, it's just something that we believe in, that they actually chose to come here. They chose their own life, they chose their parents, they chose this environment to come. So if I have consciously chosen to come here, and if I'm not fitting in here, and I ask, then why am I here?
right,
It's, if you look a little deeper, maybe they are pointing to say, hey,
right.
can something else change? Like we started with the whole environment changing. many times they just manifest something that needs to change, not for themselves,
Right, right.
but that it may benefit many
Everyone.
more people.
Yeah.
And the children with special needs, there's one of them, but they move a whole community.
Correct.
Take it in a medicine or in agriculture and anything, lifestyle change. So one child coming means the whole house has to change, the family, the grandparents, that all, everybody goes. Everybody goes. Like you said, for parents, it's very hard to accept this, because I wanted a child and I got a child, but to think my child chose me for this, it's quite, as somebody watching them, and I say, if like sometimes they don't match at all, like I would have wondered, why did this child choose this parents, because sometimes I feel the parents can't cope, but then when I look and I say, must be for a reason, and if you look really deeper, there's always something behind it.
True, true. No,
So
like you said, the whole community, is there with that child, because when that kid was in our class, also the children, for children, it wasn't anything at all. It's only as an adult we could see that the child needs a little more, or he needs, because there is a boundary around how the school functions and how the classroom needs to be, what the child needs to do. And but the children were absolutely fine. They were having fun with that kid, and he used to just he was happy just watching. So that was that, I mean, from that point of view, it was just perfect relationship, right,
yeah,
for them.
yeah. Sorry, Mama,
Yes,
you.
Geeta, you wanted to add to the.
Pooja pretty much answered that. I have found over these many, many years that if parents adopt a philosophy to hold on to, and they believe in that philosophy, life becomes a little easier. And the philosophy is just this: there is a purpose for everything to happen. If they only, and this didn't come to us. I remember right in the beginning when I joined VXL, there was a mother who had a multiple disabled child. He was, yeah, deaf. He was not blind, but very little vision, and he couldn't speak, and there were multiple issues with him. And that mother said in one of the meetings, she said, even if the world gives me a choice today, I wouldn't choose any other child, because my Aditya chose me. He chose my womb to be there. And that was a very empowering statement for the other parents. He chose my womb, and therefore I am the mother chosen. And then if we have known one of our beautiful students, his name is Sabri, and Sabri has written something which says, do not feel sad for me, I have chosen these indigo robes. Please don't think that you can feel. And if the parents are convinced of this, that my child has chosen this birth to create a change in his environment, then the whole way to look at it is different.
Different.
The fact remains that without these children, we would not have changed in certain very essential ways.
True, true.
So when we meet these children, it's almost like asking them, who are you? These were the three sentences given. Neha Pooja keep referring to our mentor. Yes, there is our teachers who've taught us. They say, who are you? We ask the child. And the second question we ask him is, what have you brought for me here? Like, in the sense, where do you want me to change? And believe me, they will target that very thing in you which you are not very good at.
Yeah.
It could be patience,
Yeah.
it could be anger. There was a child who came and gave me one dhap on my chest, and I, for quite some time, I've been wearing this crown of being a queen principal, and I walk and I'm used to children, teachers quickly doing their jobs, and the children, everybody sitting straight. But this, my dear friend, came and he gave me one dhap on my chest. And I looked at him. I didn't look at him and say, what did you do? I had to quickly say, what did I do? What did I do to get this? And I remembered that in a moment of anger, just few minutes ago, in a moment of anger, I had actually shouted at someone quite not nicely. Like, I had not used the right words. They were not polite. And in fact, I may have used a B word or something like that. I would have said bloody for something. And he just came and he quickly wrote He pulled Pooja's hand and he wrote, Gita, practice what you preach.
Oh,
Okay.
oh,
So
sweet.
Geeta, whether she likes it or not, cannot get away with blue murder because she's the principal. I have to learn to control what I have to be conscious of the words coming out of my mouth.
Right.
I can't be so wrought up to say, why is this bloody thing here? No, you can't. If you are teaching if you're teaching your children to be calm,
Yeah.
then you better be calm.
Right.
So I say they bring to you what you need to learn, and then you ask them, how can I help you? Yes, they are not here just idealistic. They've also come to this earth, and we need to have them be members of this earth. So we need to help them do that, but they will come with you with an agenda.
Right.
If the parents understand that they are here for a reason, they've come here for an agenda, I find those parents flowering and those able to give a lot of help to other parents. They're able to kind of really build a very beautiful community with other parents, and that's super ideal.
Yeah.
You
Absolutely.
know?
That I just got lost when you were talking, and it's so beautiful. Uh, we have, today the time, but I'm sure we are going to get you back, the three of you, for more conversations, in the future also. But, let me, there's one big thing that I wanted to address here, and that is one, of course, when I next time when the times are better and I'm driving to Chennai, I'm definitely coming to Kaleidoscope to see the magical world that you've created for your children over there and to
It's a happy
enjoy.
world.
Yes,
Yeah, I would
absolutely,
say it's a happy world. Yes.
absolutely happy world, and I will
Most
definitely do
welcome.
that.
Please come.
Absolutely. But the thing is that now we are still conversing across, this
Yeah.
screen. So, how difficult or how easy has it been for you to reach your children in this time of, pandemic? Because educators across the globe are struggling, right? Everybody is finding it difficult how to reach the children, how to make classes interesting, how to get them to talk. So how easy or difficult has it been for you?
You want to answer that?
Uh, yeah, because Neha, I'm sure, will have a completely other side. Give me an
I
example.
love the fact that both of you are together and yet you have absolutely, somewhere different individualities. That is so beautiful to see.
So I mentor certain classes like kindergarten, or my class is the oldest in the class in the school. So these two extremes that I take,
Yeah,
they don't want anything to do with being online.
right.
There's nothing you can do online because the children just refuse to come, or they hide under the bed, or they just don't want it.
Yeah,
So, as much like there are certain children from other classes whom I call, I sing to them, teachers work with them. But I'll talk about the children who don't come at all.
right.
Yeah, I can talk about what we do when they do come.
Correct.
These children, I just look and I wonder that this time with their parents has never happened before, ever. So most of the parents are very happy to, like, they cry, the children cry and the parents cry when they are holidays in school, because it's not easy to live with a child with special needs. As much as we say parents need to do this, and it's not easy, and it's almost like this time has been given to parents to say, now come meet your children. And it's been quite beautiful actually to watch that the parents aren't stressed because they didn't have to go to work. They had to do everything of the house, and mother and father both there in the house. And even the hardest child, like who would throw things out of the window and do all those things, they're happy because their parents are there and their parents are relaxed and breathing. And I just felt for the children who don't come, we've had to work with their parents a lot.
Yeah.
So some part of the work has been with the parents,
Right.
some part of it is obviously with the children, but it's like, can the parents come, can we help bridge that
Correct.
that sort of space a little bit more till actually they begin to enjoy their children. And when that happens, then I would actually say, oh good, this time has been good for the children because they got to experience that. Yeah, for the children who come, you can.
Yeah, no, for I actually agree with what she's saying.
No, I also agree with
So,
Yeah,
but it actually, this kind of medium is something we are constantly fighting, because
Yeah.
we're actually constantly getting into our school more movement and more touch. All our work is through movement and touch, and
I'm
this
actually being human.
being human, yes, and this is not human. This is extremely artificial, that I can't even sit in the same room as you and
Yeah.
feel you and be next to you or hold your hand or reach out to you. Nothing. I can't do anything.
True.
So it I was wondering what's happening actually in this time. And like Pooji said, it's like every family, not only
Not
especially,
only, yeah.
but every family in this time has had close proximity to each other,
Oh, yes.
sometimes too close. And
Absolutely.
you reach a point where you want to kill each other, but
Yeah.
that we can't do anything because you can't get out of the house. So I do feel that through this, one thing that I saw happening in my class is that a deep longing began to flower. The children love school, they love their teachers, but there was this, because it's not, we can't do it, it's not a normal time. Then even 2 minutes that I see that other human being, something changes in me for the whole day.
Right. Right.
So I think the whole going online, it's based on the child, it's based on the family, it's based on a lot of compassion and flexibility. If the mother says, I can't come for the class at this time, I have to put the clothes to dry, you respect that.
Yeah.
Okay, but you don't kill yourself as a teacher in the process. But so it's like it's something that's constantly changing. But it has also brought this fact that, hey, at least like this we can see each other and hear each other. So it's been difficult because this sitting in front of the computer is very draining for the children also. So I believe in having very small short poignant times with them, and then closing it for the day and waiting to see them again the next day. That's been helpful.
I think what you said, both of you, I think it is true for every child. It is
Every
true
child, yeah.
for everyone. I think, forget the children, even for us as adults, I think this time has brought families so close. I mean, I've talked to cousins of mine who I have not spoken in so many years, and people getting together online. But of course, nothing can compare to a human touch, a person inside the room and talking face to face. There's nothing comparable to that. And especially when your children, you are doing so much at school for them, I think they must be really missing all that music and all the your theatrics. And in fact, that brings me to you organize a show for your children, right? Every year, the children and you together. So
Yeah,
tell us a
every
little bit about that. I mean, I've seen the trailer and I'm just so in awe of that.
so it's
Just
in
before
a
you
school.
speak, I wanted to say that Kaleidoscope Learning Center is one section, but why that whole business of that whole theatrical thing is so important is VXL is a lifespan organization. We have children coming in from birth, but we continue to look after them till they are 25. We place them in different places. We've had children who've started working in hotels. We've started placing them in different places. So that's all about the older children, and our school is a transition time between this and this. But there is a vocational center. We, and like when Pooja said that there's one child who changes the community, because of the want of 2 or 3 children today, we have an entire farm.
Wow.
Still has a farm which has been started by the partner organization, one of the couples who's also the trustees of our school, who've opened a farm where children go and spend 4 days at a time, 3 days at a time,
So
you know. So it's become a huge organization. We are actually 10 centers all over India now. So
amazing.
I want
Beautiful.
and why this production is great is it brings everybody together at one point. Yeah, you
So
can talk about that
it
now.
just started as annual day. Like every school has an
Yeah,
annual day. Our
annual.
school also has annual day. But Mama came up with, we will not, because it brings it's a lot of work, and
Right.
it's a lot for the children also, lot for the teachers also. So she said we are going to have 1 year annual day, 1 year sports day. So this year the the play we wrote was called The Last Leaf of Lorien, and the children actually wrote it with us. It's actually a lot of fun because the whole, like Mama said, the whole all the centers come together, and normal life stops and you enter a completely different world. And this time they said we want to do a fairy tale. We want to write it. We want to act it. We want to dance in it
And we want the whole community
to
here.
come together.
Wow, wow. So that was how many of you in total?
Close to 200, I think.
Wow, wow.
So I think
And
On
all
stage,
of
one of the scenes there were 150 people.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Amazing, performance that must have been really. So great talking to the three of you. I've learned so much. I'm sure my viewers, my guests, speakers, you have been amazing. So, but definitely promise me you are going to come back again and we're going to share more conversations on more topics like this. And so, Geeta, before we leave, a message for students outside, educators outside, parents.
My message is for you, first of all. My message is for you. Thank you, Sapna.
Oh,
It's
please.
not. I truly say this.
No.
Thank you for
Thank
giving us an opportunity. For us, I don't know how many people are going to view this, but I say, even if there is one person who's hearing this and kind of thinks that there is more to autism, there is more to children with special needs than meets the eye, I can only be thankful to you. Giving us a
I'm not.
platform
No.
for us, working with children is one thing, but really making people aware of disability is a huge thing, and you've helped us do that. I have no other words. I am really, truly grateful. I'm very honored to be here and want to thank you deeply from the bottom of my heart. Thank
It's been my pleasure, and I have learned so much. I've been wanting to do this for so long. It's something that's so close to me. But thanks, the three of you, for coming. And I think in the end, I would just like to add what all three of you said throughout our conversation, that children are like gifts to be unwrapped, and we need to just unwrap them slowly to find that beautiful treasure within and enjoy them the way they are, because they're just beautiful as they are, right? So thank you so much once
Thank
again,
you.
and see you soon again.
Yeah.
thank you.
Bye
Thank you so
bye. Bye.
Bye.